I've been asked to talk about the beginnings of IODA, which is a pleasure for me. And I'm going to share a PowerPoint here. So this is just a very little bit about our history, but we felt that you might be interested in hearing how we started. And we started with a discussion in 1985 in Zeist, the Netherlands, about creating a truly international organization. There had been a conference where there was a few disappointments, if you will. And so the discussion was, shall we start a new international organization or not? And so we spent a year discussing that. I said we would make a decision when we got to Israel for a conference at the Soares Moshav. There's a picture of the Moshav. Lovely, lovely place. At the time, they had a lot of fruit trees and other vegetables and many flowers. It's located about 10 kilometers west of Jerusalem on the way to Tel Aviv, and just a very, very lovely place. And so the conference at that time was about managing conflicts in the 1990s, and there'd been some conflicts. And it was decided at this conference, a decision would be made about starting another organization or not. And ultimately, we did decide to start something new. And we would meet at lunch times and in evenings and talk, and decided to create IODA. And we spent a lot of time talking about our principles and our values, because we felt very strongly about these, given where we were at the time in history of the world, if you will. It was a conflicted time. There was an East and West Europe. There was all sorts of other geopolitical things happening in the world. So we wanted to have a professional association based on strong principles and values. And we wanted to ensure as best we could, it was focused on global issues, global realities, and global OD persons working globally. So we wanted it also to be decentralized, of course, and to have a lot of participation of the members and of the community that we were creating. And we wanted to help through sharing and learning from each other. We wanted to help expand our practices in the countries of the professionals from the different member countries of IODA. And we felt very, very committed to this sharing of ideas and processes, etc. We wanted to ensure that it was always multicultural, always international, global, if you will, and that there was a time and space for sharing of experiences and different cultural realities. We worked on these values and polished them up, of course, a little bit after Soares, but we feel very strongly that we want to learn from each other. And we want to learn from experience, and that a conference in IODA would be a place to do that learning. We valued very much inclusion of all and collaboration and participation. These are the tenets also of organization development. We believe very strongly in community building. And given that we are international and global and multicultural with a strong diversity included. It was important to talk about respecting ourselves and others. For listening, we also need to be respecting. And we felt that this was important in our work, in our communities, in our organizations, and in our world, is to garner respect for each other and to practice respect. We also wanted to talk about and have meaning in our lives, so that what we did had some significance for each of us, and hopefully for the community and the organizations that we're working with. And again, we wanted to reinforce the aspect of multicultural focus on our work, and with that, the respect that goes with that, and the sharing and the absolute learning from each other. So we felt that this also would help us, and that one of the things that IODA can be is a transformative presence in the world and in different communities, etc. So these are the things that we talked about in Soares, and we formalized as we went along in the beginning of IODA. So we decided to hold a conference every year, but in a different region of the world. And that was our opportunity to have support and give support to persons and professionals in other regions that perhaps cannot make it out or go or travel as easily as others can. At the time, there was issues with visas, hard currency versus soft currency, etc. And so we wanted to hold a conference in an area that people would be able to get to, professionals, students, others, would be able to get there by car or by bus or maybe by train. So this is why we wanted this geographic aspect of our existence. We also wanted, by doing this, to be supportive of local organizations, students, professors, universities, and other organizations that were working within that region. And we want to reinforce, as we mentioned before, participation. And we felt that by being physically there, we were exhibiting and living participation by being there and exchanging with other persons. The conferences were meant to be a learning moment and an exchange moment. And we felt very strongly about that. We felt that it was important then to be able to offer some scholarships to people, even some who might not be able to make it by car or by bus. So we started a humble scholarship program. And in order to bring people also from some countries that maybe were not represented yet or were not participating in IODA, in order to live our values, if you will. We also created a system of liaisons. In each country, there would be one liaison so that conference planners could send information to that liaison, and then they would disseminate it through their own networks and communities in that country. It worked very well for us. I think that's also how come we had people from so many different countries participating in IODA in the beginning. So, as we mentioned, the first get-together, if you will, was in November of 1986 when we decided to create IODA. And some of the people that were there, we had someone from Belgium, from Chile, from Finland, of course, Israel, Namibia, the Netherlands, Poland, Singapore, the US, and South Africa. And now we've met Johan's daughter, so the participation continues in Spain. And many of these people continue to be dear friends, and they were instrumental in getting IODA established. Our next conference, which I'll speak of in a minute, but was in Zakopane, Poland, and we were able to have people from other countries that were not able to get to Israel or other places participate, such as Bulgaria, East Germany, Hungary, Peru, Poland, again, the United States, and Yugoslavia. The second conference was in the United States in 1988. In 1987 was Poland, 88 is the United States. And we had people representing Austria, Belgium, Brazil, England, West Germany, again, Hungary, the Netherlands, Spain, Switzerland, the US, USSR, and Venezuela. So you can see this is just an example of how we were growing our community and welcoming people from all these different countries. And we went from a beginning of 11 countries to persons from many different countries beyond 11. So we felt very good that we were building this community of concerned and dedicated OD practitioners. Our first conference, as I mentioned, was in Zakopane, Poland in 1987. And it was beautiful, a beautiful location in Poland. You can see by the mountains area and also an example of some of the architecture of the region, of the city. We had over 100 people there, which was just wonderful. And it was a topic that we were discussing, and we're discussing in different groups and presentations, was social responsibility and effectiveness in organizations. And that really was a wonderful, wonderful beginning for IODA and for our conferences. As mentioned, we had people coming from many different areas that possibly couldn't have made it if it was like in another region of the world. So we're very, very pleased with that. The constant question is, what more can we offer our members, right? And so at a certain point in the early 90s, we decided that we wanted to create a journal, a serious professional scientific journal. And we did do that. You can see the cover page in each edition. There were 3. IODA with the O being a globe. This was designed by a colleague of mine at the Organization of American States, where I was working at the time, Uruguayan, and he did that as a contribution towards IODA. The other sheet is the first page of the table of contents of Volume 2. And I'm particularly proud of this one. If you can see the first article, this is really something, was the Ford gets rolling in Hungary. And the story on that is that when Ford decided to do a factory in Hungary, they came with their usual team of people, including an OD consultant. But when they got there, they discovered that there was a nucleus, a group of professionals doing organization development led by Imre Löwy. And so they started working with the US OD consultant for Ford in terms of getting the implementation of this factory in Hungary. It was so successful, it was so wonderful that the US OD person, I believe, only went twice. And the rest of the work was done by this great group of people from Hungary that were part of the group of professionals that Imre was working with. And so it took a while, but we finally got Imre to make a presentation at a conference. He invited the US OD consultant as well as an executive from Ford Motor Company, and they were the panel at the conference in Coventry, England. It was marvelous. I have to say, I was so proud and excited. And then, of course, afterwards, I started talking to Imre about, we need an article about this for our journal. And so he wrote this article. And all the articles were interesting and wonderful, and they passed through a series selection process. But this one in particular is an example of how IODA people working together can do great things. Thank you so very much.